Phelps School is really a shining star because it was a real privilege to be accepted there. That's what it was. You just didn't walk in and say, I want to be here. And it wasn't that we were important, but they made their choices, and I was happy that I was chosen.
I just feel that there was wonderful, innovative experiences for me as a teacher, and it certainly developed creativity within me more than what I'd had, but to be able to give that to the children was especially wonderful.
I went to Phelps during the Second World War, so from 41 to 46, there were no guys on campus except the ones that were 4F, that couldn't get in the service.
Well, since I came in the summer, it was a different program. They ran enrichment programs for students, all K through 6, I believe. And I was in the 5th and 6th grade program that summer. And we did a lot of putting on of plays. We created puppets and backdrops for them.
One student I want to mention here is we probably wouldn't even be here today in this building having this interview of you kids in this class if it wasn't for people like my good friend Bruce Craig. We went through Phelps together, and then he went and got in the Vietnam thing, and he was a real hero. He was the one that didn't come back.
So we went out to Whitewater State Park for the week, and we had Winona State professors come out to us to teach us everything from biology to history, you name it. There was not a day of time in the day that we weren't doing anything.
We had a 3rd grade teacher, Mr. Bergstrand. He was from Sweden, 24 years old, very blonde, very nice looking guy. And the very first day of school, we're all in our seats, and he's sitting behind his desk in a chair with his legs propped up. And just before class started, he fell backwards in the chair and disappeared behind the desk. And we're all kind of sitting there and started laughing, and he pops up and introduces himself. So, as 3rd graders, we kind of thought, well, this is kind of a cool teacher. Plus, he had an accent. This was even really good.
We played soccer, which nobody else in town was playing at that time. And for many years later, and now it's become all the rage.
So forth. And now kids would bring in things. I recall it was on a Friday. A bunch of them brought in about 10 or 12 grass snakes of all things. Well, where are we going to keep them? Well, we'll put them down here in the herbarium among the plants. And we had a wire over the top there. Lo and behold, after school that night, janitor came up and looked in there, and there was a screen across the top, but he didn't get the screen down. Well, here in the weekend, I came to school about 7:30 Monday morning, and Magda Tully was in the women's restroom. I heard her come screaming out, "What's wrong?" She said there's snakes in the floor there. All 32 snakes had gone out. We're up on the 2nd floor, and they were all over the building, but most of them had gone down here, down into the basement.
Dr. Monet said, you also have a basketball team to take care of. And I said, I'm sorry, but I don't know the first and last thing about basketball. I can't possibly be a team. And so I talked with Mr. McCown, who was the head of the PE department, and he said, don't worry about it. He said, we have, just as some people go out to take student teaching in a variety of areas, so we need to have a spot too. And so I assigned a student to take his practice teaching by coaching the basketball team. And I thought, oh boy, I'm out of this one.
I used to ride my bicycle to school every day. And at that time, dogs did not have to be tied up on a leash or behind a fence or anything. And we had this great big mixed breed dog. It was part German Shepherd, part Collie, part this, part that. That dog would ride alongside my bicycle, and I'd lock my bike when I got to school. And this dog would lay beside my bicycle all day long. And the college kids there used to be a confectionery store across the street. And the college kids would go and buy candy and ice cream and burgers and stuff. And they'd always get a piece of licorice or the end of their ice cream cone or something, and they would try to coax him away from my bicycle, but he just wouldn't move until I came out of school. And that was always one of my best memories of 7th grade, you know.
Miss Holly was our English teacher, and we did a lot of play things there. We were always carrying out some old book like Little Women, I remember doing, or Pilgrim's Progress. We had to memorize poetry.
And then 2nd grade was Miss Burlette, and she used to walk around the room with a ruler in her hand. She'd crack you across the knuckles if she didn't like your answers. But after that, then everything was good after that.
Opal Foster was my 1st grade teacher, and one of the things I remember about her is she must have been the penmanship teacher because I think, the penmanship expert, because I think we had her for cursive training like through 3rd grade or something, and she was a beautiful lady and must have done a good job because to this day I get compliments on my penmanship.
I student taught under Verley Sather, and Verley was a wonderful, enthusiastic teacher.
We couldn't wait to be able to walk through the tunnels. It was the coolest thing to be able to do. And we did use them when we went over and practiced, especially during the winter, in Thompson Hall, in the auditorium, for our programs that we always put on. At least once a year, I think we did a program every year.
Holiday Hill.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea what it was about anymore.
Yeah, I don't either.
All I know is I played the part of a grandmother in it, and they had to make black marks and all the ring. Now they don't have to do that anymore.
We had to go to home economics, which was at the east end of the 1st floor of Thompson Hall. We had to go there once a week, and I still use a good recipe for scalloped salmon.
I mean, it was a real tremendous experience for them, the pianists, and also for these students. The parents made the costumes, Shirley Bucher helped them, and we had all kinds of wonderful, wonderful interpretations of the Arabian and Chinese dance.
His name was Scott Hazelton. He is now in construction in Winona, and I do hear about him occasionally from friends of mine who are in this construction business. But he was a very nice, smiley, blonde boy. And he'd always say to me, I've got to introduce you to my brother. I think he'd really like you.
It's a lot smaller than the campus is now.
I really enjoyed the student teachers, having student teachers in every room.
I remember my biggest problem in handling the group was that just down the hall and around the corner was the gymnasium. And I had a heck of a time keeping all the girls there because they wanted to be down watching the basketball players play during the day. If they turned up missing, I knew where they were.
If it was in the winter and we were in our little gym clothes, we would go through the tunnel. And that was a big event because that was only open at certain times and we weren't really allowed to have free reign down there. However, sometimes we would take advantage of that. And I remember times when the boys would hide up in the pipes and we girls would go walking through and the boys would scare us. So that was a really big deal. It was pretty dark in there and we were supposed to be a company, but we weren't always a company.
For us, it was just a normal experience coming to school, being around the college students, I guess, so it got not to be a big thing for us. I mean, we harassed them like any decent elementary kid school would do. And I don't know, I think we thought we were kind of special sometimes because we got to use the different college facilities.
My friend and I would disappear. We'd hide. And so then the teachers come out looking for us, the poor student teachers. And then we'd quick run with all our might and round the other way and get in before the teachers got back.
We performed our programs over on Thompson Hall. And how did we get there? We went through the tunnel.
Came in those two places, and they could, quote, carry lunches. And I thought that was so wonderful. That shows you what you know as a kid, because I had to walk home.
But I think Scott and I had a good relationship as a student and a student teacher. He was a little bright, blue-eyed boy. I can just recall. I can see his face right now.
It was a place that was kind of off limits, so we felt like we were really big stuff being down there.
Well, we had a great time because we get the kids going through the tunnels and then we turn off the lights on them.
I was inspired by the building. Was bright and cheery. Phelps was. I think it was an easy access for all of us students to do our student teaching in the lab school.
I used to come over here. There were swings, there were slides, there was a baseball layout, but it was for softball, so it was on a smaller scale. And we'd play in the school, you know, practically all the time.
And I remember on the far east wall, there used to be a hate pipe, and I got badly burned. I have a scar here, you know, playing basketball.
Each individual to the gate and open this gate of learning and acquiring of wisdom, acquiring of knowledge, and extending it to the individual, to the child, whoever the learner is. And hopefully general education and life will produce a wonderful individual.
Just being on the campus and being able to experience what the Winona State instructors, what they were to offer us. It was amazing. I don't think I have a bad memory.
Well, my dad and my father, Robert Hafner Sr., he was from Winona his entire life, and he actually attended Phelps School.
Oh, I remember Ruth Eubens, who was from Winona. She brought her black mice, her pet black mice, to school with her during the summer, and we got a chance to play with them. And Dorothy Hyder, who was our teacher, didn't bother her at all. She thought that was just great stuff.
You don't dare get caught. We knew those tunnels. Do they still exist? Yes. Isn't that nice? And then the old trick was to be sure the lights were on in the tunnels.
But remember also when President Kennedy died, and we were in it was Miss Wilsey, who is Judy Schwalin now, and it was her home ec class. And that one of the students had gone down to the principal's office for something, to do something, get something, bring it back for home ec class. We were making French toast. And she came back crying and said that the president had died, President Kennedy. And so we were all in shock and disbelief. And for a long time, I couldn't eat French toast because that brought back memories of that awful experience. But
until that time, I always recall having excellent spelling tests every time until late in second grade. I spelled both wrong once and got one wrong, and I was so angry with myself and so unhappy.
Mr. Fischbacher,
He was a favorite.
Everybody liked him.
Yeah, Glenn Fischbacher. And he taught science and math. And then we had Verna Hyman, who taught English.
English, I think.
And was it Miss Granis that taught social studies?
I don't remember.
I think so.
Was there Miss Davis that did taught
Oh
Spanish?
yeah,
She taught
Marion
Spanish.
Davis. Marion Davis. Yeah.
I loved being there. It was a privilege, really, to be able to attend Phelps School.
It was just a nice area, nice school. Very, very good teachers.
The Girl Scout troop, we had the first Girl Scout troop in Winona. I became a very dedicated Girl Scout. I loved it, and we did a lot of things. And then another friend of mine and I, when we got to high school, actually ran the Phelps School troop.
I remember too going to the convocations that the college had. Do you remember that? We didn't go to all of them, but once in a while we go to them. And I can remember singing the Lord's Prayer at that. Now that would be not a PC nowadays. Huh?
It gave me a wonderful sense of values.
I had a chance to meet the other teachers. We need to have good role models. I'm glad that I was with Verlie Sather. I'm in some organizations now with her, and she's just a wonderful, dear lady. I have a friendship with her that I cherish.
And then I also like the outdoors. And that was the gym here.
We used to run through these tunnels for noon lunch. They'd have to track us down. We'd be out there when our lunch breaks going through these tunnels between here and Winona State.
I guess we were just always made to feel special, not that we were just a bunch of kids on a campus, but we were a part of the campus. I think that was so special.
I don't think you could find a better staff anyplace in the country. It was a special time and a special place.
The other thing that I remember is when the Winona students would come, we'd all get together and go down in the tunnel between Thompson and Phelps and play. We thought that was pretty cool.
It was a wonderful experience teaching there. It was busy. The teachers were very, very professional.
Phelps School, as I understand it, at that time was an experiment to use student teachers in the classroom. I thought it was wonderful for all of us, the extra help, and that class that I was in really excelled at senior high.
Great, and they did the Manto test for TB, and mine turned out positive, so I was supposed to go with a group of kids on a bus up to Wabasha to the sanitarium and have some kind of a test. I don't even remember what it was now. But I was so scared, I went and I hid in the bathroom in the basement. And so I didn't go. Well, they caught up with me and I had to go with the college kids anyway. But those are some of the things that I remember. But
mostly the teachers and the faculty were awesome.
I liked it because our creativity was encouraged. Usually with student teachers, they would want to try some new thing and give us great attention because this was their project. And so with the guidance, I'm sure, of the faculty, the teachers were really, student teachers were very helpful for us.
It's changed an awful lot, that's for sure.
The tunnels, sorry. But the tunnels, it was between Thompson and Winona State and Phelps. We had our music and art and a few other classes. We would actually go over to Thompson Hall. We had to go into the tunnels.
I think I got a good foundation for an education.
I taught 5 years in senior high, and this was at the junior high level. And I recall the first quarter having 3 student teachers, and they were only there for 12 weeks, and it was a quite change. Hard to get them in teaching. I was teaching. Then they had people that would come over and observe the classes, and then they'd make case studies, and it was just in and out.
Oh, I'd like to say it to all of my teachers. I wish we could find them all. Some of them I know are still around. Mr. Grubb, Mrs. Shelveen, Carlos Anderson, she was a music teacher.
We had Mr. Fischbacher, and we called him the Colonel.
I just had a wonderful cooperation with the teachers and their sharing.